this song, but I must confess what happened to me. I was looking for the truth like a needle in a haystack and a goldfish in the deep blue sea. I tried money, sex, dope, work, yoga, music, school, all those things people say set you free. But it wasn't until I stopped running like I was some kind of fool that I let the light empower me. Then I saw Jesus, that rocking troubled waters. Jesus, that bright and morning star. Jesus, that bridge over troubled waters. He's not very far. He's still the same. All you got to do is call his name. Not very far. He's still the same. All you got to do is call his name. So many people have not heard about the love that he brings. We've got to show them so they can know him, and the truth that will set them free. He'll make their hearts to sing. Jesus, that rock and troubled waters. Jesus, that bright and morning star. Jesus, that bridge over troubled waters. He's not very far. He's still the same. All you got to do is call his name. Not very far. He's still the same. All you got to do is call his name. So many people have not heard about the love that he brings. We've got to show them so they can know him, and the truth that will set them free. He'll make their hearts to sing. Jesus, that rock and troubled waters. Jesus, that bright and morning star. Jesus, that bridge over troubled water. Not very far. He's still the same. All you got to do is call his name. He's not very far. He's still the same. All you got to do is call his name. You got to call the name of Jesus. 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 You got to call the name of Jesus. 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 You got to call the name of Jesus. Jesus. Jesus.
Wow, wasn't that cool?
Oh yeah.
All right.
I enjoyed it. I mean, I wonder who's on that record. You know.
Yeah, I'm wondering myself.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to Poetry Where Creativity Speaks, the podcast. I am your host, Candy B, and I am a multi-passionate creative, an entrepreneur, and the founder of Poetry and the founder of Candy Marketing Store, where you can get all your business needs. And I am here and excited to be with my illustrious co-host, Mr. Kennard Cherry, and our special guest today. Kennard.
Absolutely. My name is Kennard Cherry. I am an entrepreneur, multi-instrumentalist, producer, lots of things. I'm also the owner of Domain Symbols, which is the first Black-owned symbol company in the industry. www.domainsymbols.com. Shameless plug. No problem. No problem. So and so today, can I introduce the guest, or you want to?
No, you introduce the guest. That's good.
All right. So we have today, I'm going to say this, this is my friend. He's become my friend. I call him Dr. Winstead, but Mr. Wheeler Ray Winstead Jr. Everything started from a conversation, pretty much from our church. And he pulled me aside and said, "Hey, I have these songs." And let me just say this. The interesting part about it, when I met with him, He pulled out this acoustic guitar, and then when he pulled out the where he wrote the songs on, I knew there was something deep about it, because you know how paper turns yellow over the years.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's how long it's been. I'm like,
Wow.
what are we getting into? But here's the interesting part. He
Mhm.
said, I'm not really a guitar player, but I'm gonna play this for you. And he started playing, and I'm just like, instantaneously, as soon as he started playing and singing, it's like, wow, God really gave this to him, because the way it communicated when he did it, it blew me away. And
Yeah.
that's pretty much how our relationship really started. Again, because he said, I asked him, I said, there's so many musicians you can pull from. He said, well, God can talk to you. So.
Wow. That's awesome, Kennard. I think you froze a little bit there, but okay, that's okay. You're back now. All right, well, let's bring him in. Mr. Winstead, welcome. Thanks for
Hello,
being
thank you for having me. Candy, Kennard.
Absolutely. How are you doing?
Doing great. Now I'm over my second bout of COVID.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Yes. Tell us about that. You had it twice, and
I had it
that's
twice.
just incredible.
First time was really hard. Second time I felt like I just had a cold.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was after vaccination?
After 2 vaccinations, I did recently get a booster, but it happened.
Yeah. Well, we're so glad that you recovered well, and you look good, and you look great. You sound
Thank
great.
you.
And we're so glad to have you, because we actually tried to get you on the show before.
Right.
We didn't. So it's nice to have you here today. So
Thank you, Candy.
that first song that we heard, that was so much fun. There's so much there. The music to the lyrics. Do you want to tell us like what inspired that, and also what Kennard was saying about the yellow paper?
Yeah. Well,
How
that
was
song
this
is kind of
song?
like my journey. You know,
Okay.
First it starts off like, well, like I never believed I'd be singing this song, but I got to tell you what happened to me. I was looking for the truth. Like a needle. I tried everything. I tried money, sex, dope, work, you name it. I tried it.
All the wrong places.
Yeah, but it wasn't until I stopped running like I was a fool that I let God empower me. So I really got the song. So it's my story, but I got the song one night and I was in Puerto Rico and I couldn't sleep. And how did I get to Puerto Rico? Well, long story short, I was a youth missionary and I was in Puerto Rico. And I was on one of these youth missionary trips and I couldn't sleep. And I went outside and it was this terrible storm. I mean, this storm was like crazy. And it was, we happened to be staying in a hotel near the beach and the waves would come in and there was this huge rock. And it was just, but the waves were so much bigger than the rock. It would smash the rock. And I was thinking, you know what? In the morning, this rock is not going to be here. This rock is going to be gone. The storm was ferocious. It looked ferocious. It felt ferocious. It kept on smashing this rock. I said, rock ain't not going to make it through the night. So come back in the morning. Storm was gone. Rock's still there. Not a little piece of it was gone. I was thinking, wow. That's just like Jesus. He's the rock in troubled waters. He's the bright morning star. He'll be there after all the storms of life go through. And so that was sort of like my life, And so, I wanted to tell people about the rock and troubled waters.
That's nice.
And I wanted to tell it in a way that sort of reflected my thinking at that time. I came out of a background of, I'm a child of the 60s. I went to school. When I was in school, my junior year in school, Woodstock happened. Our cities were burning. Jimi Hendrix and all that era was going on. And so that's my music is really a reflection of that era. And so the songs really that I've written as a part of this album are sort of draw you in songs. Some people probably wouldn't call them gospel, but they're about gospel. They're about Christ. But they're the songs that that I wrote as I was transitioning into a more understanding of what that was about. And so, and I told Kennard, man, these songs, the reason the paper was yellow, I wrote the song like 47 years ago.
That's incredible.
And I just, never thought that I would really record them. It's like, but I got this prodding, you need to do these songs. You need to serve God in your generation. You need to, don't worry about what other people do. Don't worry about how good everybody else is. Do what I tell you. And so it's my story.
And I was wondering about why do you think now is the time for those songs to actually be heard by the world? Why do you think that is?
Well, I think now is because now is the only time I was able to do them. I mean, I tried. Okay, so I tried them before. There were other friends. I'd say, hey, I got these songs I want you to try. The person, they didn't seem to quite get it. And, I tried a few times. I wrote the songs out. I had the music, chords and everything written, prepared. It just never happened. But I think what was needed, well, first timing and the right people. So that person, I guess, is pointing this way. This way. Yeah, that's it. This way. That guy, Kennard. So you need someone who feels the music and sees the music, but sees it beyond. Sees it not what it is, but what it can be. So the person has got to see the idea and be able to visualize it in a more perfected form. And not everybody has that. Not everybody does that. So for me, I had to find that person. I could say, hey, I got this idea, but I'm not the one to play it. And I wasn't even sure I'm the one to sing it. I'm still not that sure about that, by the way. So every time I sing it, we'd have these people lined up. He says, okay, man, I got somebody lined up. And he was, yeah, but I think you got to sing a little bit of it. No, okay, fine.
Well, yeah, I mean, with the music, like I said, it comes from your heart. It was given to you, and I think that's in communicating it from your experience. I think that's what will have the music to connect with people, and I think that's one thing about art and music. It has to connect with people in order for it to have longevity, in order for it to make change. So,
yeah, but see, the challenge for me was I wrote that 40, 50 years ago. I don't have the voice that I had 40, 50 years ago. So it's like, can I sing these songs now?
If you talk about like sheer ability, as far as like your range and those things, but I think what happens is we end up writing songs that are ahead of our time. There's a vault of music that I have that stuff is just beginning to come out that I did 20 years ago.
Okay.
So it may have just been that was the time for it to collect your experience. Now is the time to bring it on through because of where you are, and you get to bring all that experience to the music.
Yeah, well, they all the songs, as you mentioned, have a story.
Oh yes,
and so it's fun to hear them and to remember the story, and hopefully the story connects to other people. That's
for sure.
Helpful.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I was curious about was the sound is it is very retro, and I'm wondering, did you guys keep that sound, or did it evolve as the project progressed, or how did that work?
Well, I think we pretty much kept the sound, but I mean, Kennard is sort of retro. I mean, if you hear him play, you hear yesteryear, today, and tomorrow. So what I was looking for was someone who had who could hear yesterday, who was in today, but could make it work for tomorrow. So we kept the feeling of retro, because that's the authenticity of the music. I don't know if you want to say something to that, Bernard.
Well, one of the things where, particularly Jesus the Rock, I think that was the second song that we worked on outside of your title song, Calling You. And I remember listening to it, and you sent me I think the original recording, I believe, or maybe not that one, but you walked me through it. And he was like, I want this type of feel. Like you're producing yourself, so you're very particular about, I want this 60s type of sound, I want this type of feel, and pretty much I literally had these big drums in my garage, and I was like, okay, these are perfect for it, and it's a lot of echo in here, so that'll give it that natural old school feel. And then we connected with Dave Lindsay, who actually mixed it and mixed the record. And then we had another guy named I forgot his name. It's called Faith Junkie. That's his username. But he genuinely mastered it. And so when Dave did the mixes, he literally had references sitting up. The Beatles, also had some stuff from Jimi Hendrix, believe it or not. Like he had stuff sitting up that he was taking references from, as how to capture that sound with the reverb and just that nice close but distant sound.
Yeah. Very cool. I like it. And then within the song,
so you said Jesus the Rock. So it was another piece with that too as well. That resonated, that made it easy. It's just understanding the words. You were very big about, can I listen, you got the music, but I need to make sure I sing you the words to these songs so that you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. So the words were important. And so this particular song, you notice it was talked. There was a lot of the words were talked. And so that's sort of, if you listen to some of the Hendrix stuff, he's sort of talking, singing, that's that kind of feel to it. So that's pretty much reflective there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, what I was gonna say before Kennard kind of
Candy, got any other questions?
What's the
I don't know if she's still there with us. She's still here.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So
well, anyway, we'll carry on. So with let's say, for example, I think it's something that we can touch on as well. So again, the title of the album is Calling You. And right now people can find that at Bandcamp. You go to bandcamp.com and look up Wheeler Winstead Jr. And you can actually see the title album. I think it has the lyrics and also everyone that played on the album. And that's a whole nother thing there as far as having the collective, because even on Jesus the Rock, some of the background vocals, Dante Pope sang on that song as well with you. And he's pretty much been an integral part of the record as far as like the supporting vocals, and even with things like he barely wanted to. It's funny because he barely wanted to charge anything. I was like, well, this is what this is. Like, oh man, it's just one of those things where he really enjoyed the music, and I'm hoping that, and the hope is that people will listen to the words and get a message, but also enjoy the music at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you hear me, Karen? Okay. So yeah, I think there was a little bit of disconnect there earlier, but I was wondering, because the song itself has these different genres in it. You've got this guitar that's like rock, and then what feels like almost like an organ going on, and it's so different. But I can see how someone would say, well, it's not really gospel, but it kind of is, and then it kind of is. It's almost like its own thing, which I love about that. So
how would I pitch it? How do you? I mean, that's a question. So it's
when I was listening to it, what came to me was gospel fusion. I don't know if that's such a thing.
It is today.
But I think that's how it would. I think maybe that consider that. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it has its own vibe. Like I cannot categorize it. It's just a lot of fun. The only thing I can say is a lot of fun. That's really
it is. Yeah,
it's fun. It's fun to listen to. I don't know. Here's the thing. I don't know if you all have got the chance to see Hitsville. It's the Motown story on Hulu. When it talks about the formula was, if the first 8 bars of the song don't grab you, then it's not a hit. And I think that's coming out the gate. I mean, you got that bass line coming in, and next thing you know, you got the drums coming in, you got the guitar saying something, the next thing you know, boom, but you got them hooked. So now they ain't got no choice but to listen, you know. So I think that's, it's a formula there.
And I have to say that guitar was hot.
Yeah, it was.
And here's the funny part. I mean, Mr. Winstead just talked about this on the last record we did. He's like, did you change anything from the first time you laid the guitar down? Like, no. Because basically I'm one of those musicians where I just pull, God just flows, through with the music. So I just play what comes, and that's what's there. Some people have to format things. And a lot of times it's like the less I have to think about it and the more I feel it, I would say the less times I have to redo it,
Yeah, that makes sense. I can see that.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Winstead, how did the pandemic affect your music, or do you think it did at all? Or
well, for me, the pandemic brought out my music.
Okay.
Because if I was not quarantined, stuck in one place, the music would have stayed where it was. So, okay, I'm stuck in the house. It's like, okay, so the idea was get this music out. And I think the other way is like the brevity of life, the idea that we don't have, we're not here forever. Seeing the numbers rise in terms of the mortality, and realizing, my own mortality, and feeling that whatever you got to do it now. It's time to do it. And so for me, it brought the music out, and gave me the time to really focus on it. So that's how it affected me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's one takeaway, one positive of that. So
yeah,
I'm glad that you took the time, to do that. And also the message is, like you said, is whatever is in your heart, whatever you have the desire to do, just do it.
Yeah, and don't look at yourself. So my challenge is at my age, like my son is a musician. Okay. He's a good musician. Okay, I'll put a plug in. His name is Joshua Winstead. He plays for Metric.
All right.
Open for the Rolling Stones. Played Radio City Music Hall. I go into stores, I hear his music playing all the time. So he is a good musician. I mean, I don't really consider myself that good. I like music. So, but the point is, it's my music. So, if God gave you a talent, it's not for me to judge whether it's good or bad. It's for me to use my talent. And that's the message I give to everybody. It's your talent. Don't compare yourself. Do what you have to do, and let it go.
I love that. That's awesome. So, Kennard, what do you think? Time for another song?
Let's see. We can go to it. So we're gonna check out your title cut from the album. It's Calling You. So it's about a good 7 minutes because we don't have a radio edit for it. So we're gonna enjoy the whole thing.
That's right. We're gonna enjoy the whole thing.
All right, we'll be right back, and we'll be back in a few.
If you hear the sound of music and there's no one there but you, but the sound of the wind and the blue. If when you smell the fragrance of the early morning dew, and it strikes a chord familiar to you. Then in your heart you know that there must be something more for you. It's the voice of your Father, He's calling you. He's calling you, my love. You must open up your heart. It's the voice of your Father calling you. He's calling you, my love. You must never turn away. No, no. Voice of your spirit calling you.
Hear the sound of music. There's no one there but you. But the sound of the wind and the blues. If when you see the sun arise and it melts your heart anew with the hope of a brighter world real soon, then in your heart you'll know that there must be something more for you. It's the voice of your Father calling you. He's calling you, my love. You must open up your heart. It's the voice of your Father calling you. He's calling you, my love. You must never turn away. Voice of the Spirit calling you.
So if you hear the sound of music and there's no one there but you, but the sound of the wind and the blues, if when you smell the fragrance of the early morning dew and it strikes a chord familiar to you, then in your heart you'll know that there must be something more for you. It's the voice of your Father calling you. He's calling you, my love. You must open up your heart. It's the voice of your Father calling you. He's calling you, my love. You must never turn away.
All right.
That was so nice. I loved it.
Man.
That I tell you, I don't know what it is about the guitar, but it just gets me. It just gets me every time.
Well, that's what well, Dr. Winstead will be back in a few minutes.
Okay.
His computer actually died
Oh
in the middle, but he's coming back in with the same. He'll be back in shortly. But yeah, that song, he literally was like, "Kennard, I want to, want you to sing a little bit."
no.
And
Oh.
I think we talked about that before. It's like with the instrumentation, he wanted to be his vocal and then my
Mhm.
vocal, but also we had a guest vocalist on that song, Dante Pope.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. It was
Hmm.
so nice to hear him in the background, but also to me, he matched his sound. Like he kind of sounded like Mr. Winstead. So it was just really cool.
Hmm.
The
Mr.
same.
Winstead, got to get your green screen back
Yeah, let me get rid of my green screen. I'm all green
up.
back here.
He'll be right back.
All right.
So, and you said that you actually sang on this too? What?
No. Well, singing as far as guitar.
Oh,
because
okay.
because like with a lot of the songs what you hear is like he loves to have the guitar kind of complement what he's doing, and
Mm-hmm.
that type of thing. And so if you notice, Dante Pope sang the second verse, and then
Mm-hmm.
I think they're part of the third verse. So and that's the thing. And you're right, he did match the vocals, and actually Mr. Winstead is singing background vocals as well. Yeah.
So yeah, that was really cool, and it's very upbeat, and yet
Yes.
it has that kind of strong message, at the same time with the
Yeah.
lyrics.
But the interesting part is it's calling you summer 1975. So we're gonna bring it back in. I want you to
Mm.
go ahead and talk about that song, Dr. Winstead. I keep calling you Doctor. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Okay, sure,
Yeah.
sure. So that was sort of like the beginning. Um, and it what it did was the idea I started to realize all my life that there was something more, that what I was doing was good, my schooling was good, but there was something more I was hearing out there, and there was something more that was for me for life, and it was and it wasn't until I really yielded myself to that voice that I realized it was really the voice of my father, the voice of God calling me. And that song is really for all of us, and all of you, who were just like, there's something else calling me. There's something calling me. It's the voice of God. It's the voice of your Father. He's calling you, and He's calling you for through Christ. And so that's what that was about. Um, and I never said he's called it's Christ, or I
Mm-hmm.
never talked about it, but it's really, again, it's one of those searching songs
Mm-hmm.
so that people could just start to listen to, you're out there in the field, you're by yourself, or you look up at the sky and you see the stars, and it's like, and you start you maybe think there's something calling me, is what's out there for me. And that's what that message is about, calling you.
Nice. So, what do you think that Lord was calling you to do
Well,
or say?
he's calling me right now just to be who I am, and just every day just try to listen to his voice and spread his word and spread love, and let people know that there is more than what we see here, and that love and the truth is simple, and it's found in the Bible, and it's found in Christ. It's not as complicated as you might think, but it does require yielding, yielding, and that's often what we don't want to do. We want to be God, but when you look up in the sky, you realize, hey, I couldn't put this here. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's got to be something bigger than me. There's a whole lot of people that come and gone, and it's still there. The sun is still turning. the grass still grows. There is something else. There's something more. There's something bigger. And what is that? And what does that mean for me? And what it means is to yield to God, and He will show you what that means for you. I mean, it's different for everyone, and it's the same for everyone. The same part is love God, understand His love through His Son Christ, love those around you, and help them understand that there is more and there is better, and you can have better.
Nice. So I'm bringing Kennard back here. Hello, sir.
Yes, it has some technical difficulties.
It is, you know, that's just how it goes these days.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, Mr. Winstead, what did you study in school? Because you are a professor,
Yeah.
correct? At Howard
So
University, right?
I studied psychology, and the reason I studied psychology is I wanted to figure out what was wrong with me. So I was like sad,
Oh,
and I was like, I need to figure out what's going on with me. I mean, why am I so sad? What's going on in the world? So I figured, well, let me go to school, and hopefully I'll find that out. Well, I went to school, and I remember my roommate. I had a really smart roommate, but this guy was crazy.
hmm.
I mean, he really was. And the reason that's important is like I was thinking, this guy's making straight A's, and he is literally a crazy guy. Therefore, that's not the answer. So I go through schools. Went through and got my bachelor's, and it was really coming out of that as I realized, hey, school wasn't really giving me the reason I was sad or just felt incomplete. And that message you actually heard in Jesus the Rock. But I went to school, got a bachelor's degree. Really realized at that point there was really more to life. Became a missionary for 6 years. Went to Jamaica, Brazil, Puerto Rico. Came back. Still felt like a sort of urban missionary. Went back and got my master's degree. Then did some work throughout the city of Pittsburgh, doing community development. And then I felt God was calling me to something more, to Africa. And so I decided that I wanted to get my PhD in African Studies because I really felt my calling I feel my calling has something to do with the continent of Africa and helping specifically Black people and Africans. And so I went and got my PhD in African Studies. I'm now the assistant director for the Center for African Studies. I also teach Introduction to Contemporary Africa at Howard University. Teach at also University of Maryland in Africa, about Africa. So that was my journey. I went and got my bachelor's. Came out of that, lived in Boston for a while, was a missionary for 6 years, came back, got my master's, and then got my PhD, and now I'm still sort of I'm not there yet, here I am,
Is there really
70
a
plus
there?
years.
Is there really a there? So,
That's a good question. Is there a there? I don't think there is a there.
mm-hmm,
I think the there is the here.
mm-hmm,
I think the there is to wake up and say, today, live my life the way God wants me to live it. That's the there.
mm-hmm.
And to live every day and every minute that way. Don't live in regret.
Yes.
Live in hope.
Mm-hmm.
And live every day as it's there, as God would want you to live it. And so we do have to take time to find out what is that.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a world where we're rushing about all the time. We don't know what the there is, and the there is here.
It is. It's so cliche, but being present to where you are and what you're doing and what's going on, and to your thoughts and all of that it's so important. But it's such a struggle for a lot of us.
It is.
But that's it. Being present.
Being present, because we don't. I mean, tomorrow's not promised.
Right.
You know, if we're living to do, then we're not here,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So it is important to be here. Now there are things I want to do that I haven't done,
Mm-hmm.
but I've got to live here and I've got to live now and I've got to live my life today like I believe I should live it. I've got to live today, not tomorrow. If I'm thinking I want to change my life tomorrow, no, no, no. You change your life tomorrow by changing your life now,
Right.
by doing
Absolutely.
the little step now. What do you have to do today? And, so for me, that means, okay, um, find out what God has in store for you. Make sure you're feeding your spirit because you're leaving this body, this is not it.
Mm-hmm.
This is a temporary. We are spiritual beings having an earthly
Physical
time,
experience. Yeah.
an earthly experience. So,
Mhm.
you've got to figure out what is it you're supposed to do today and do it.
Yeah, I agree. And I
Yeah.
want
And so
to,
that's how this music came about. It's like,
yeah, and
okay,
it's so hopeful. It's so inspiring. Inspiring.
yeah,
Yeah,
I hope it is. Do you feel, honestly, Candy, you feel it's hopeful?
I do. I
Yeah,
do.
it's meant to
That
be.
that first song, honestly, it was so much fun. And yet, I am listening to what you're saying, but it was so uplifting. And then the second one again is so uplifting and so fun. I love them.
Good. Thank you.
And
Thank you.
you're welcome. And I
It's
wanted
fun
to
to
touch
do.
on something. It sounded like it really. I wanted to touch on something that you mentioned, your missionary work, and how you went to these different countries, and you have some looks like a tablecloth and a statue back behind you. Do you mind
Yeah, yeah.
telling us a little bit about those things?
Sure. Let me see
Where
if
you
I can
got them?
with my okay, so I don't know. Let's see. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you
Let
took
me see if I
it
can.
the other way.
Can you see that picture?
Mm-hmm.
That is really a silk scarf.
Oh
I'm trying to
wow.
get it right. There it is.
Oh
That's
yeah.
a silk scarf I got from Ethiopia.
Oh
It's a
wow.
scarf that I framed. I don't, still not may not be doing it right.
No, no, you had it right. That was good. That angle you had before was good.
Oh, there we go. It's
Yeah,
a silk scarf that I had framed. And what it is, it's a
it's
picture
gorgeous.
that depicts the African Union. And
Oh,
that picture is one of the stained glass windows in the Visitors Bureau in Ethiopia, in Addis Ababa.
wow.
And, I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. I like it as a scarf, but maybe it'll be a nice picture.
No, I like it how you have it in a frame where you can see it in all of its glory. That's amazing. That's
Yeah, look
beautiful.
at this one over here. This is another interesting one. I don't know if you can see this one here. This is a very interesting picture. This also, let's see if we can get it. This
Okay.
is also a scarf,
Okay.
and it's a picture of the story of the Queen of Sheba and King Solomon, and it's also from Ethiopia. And the
Oh,
story is that the Queen of Sheba had a baby by King of Solomon, and his child was Haile Selassie was one of the descendants of King David, and the Ethiopians claimed to have the Ark of the Covenant. And that's a story.
wow.
That's a that scarf is tells the story of the Queen of Sheba when she goes to see King Solomon, gets pregnant, and comes back to Ethiopia.
That's
It's all in that. It's all
that's
in that
incredible.
scarf.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I hadn't heard that.
So most
Wow.
people don't know. Oh, what is that? Well, there's a specific. So Ethiopians, if Ethiopians saw that scarf,
Hmm.
they would know exactly what it is. First, it's written
Okay.
in. It's the language in it is called Geese, which is an
Mhm.
old Ethiopian language.
Oh,
And so it's very interesting. I mean, the other thing
that's
that's
fascinating. Yeah.
So one of the things that I always tell people is that there's a lot about Africa you don't know. For example,
Mm-hmm.
Africa had Christianity long before Europe did.
Mm.
The first Christian nation was actually Egypt. And Ethiopia was the first nation that adopted Christianity as its official religion. The oldest monastery is in Africa. If you read the story, if you read Acts, you know the story about Philip coming upon an Ethiopian eunuch.
Mm-hmm.
That eunuch got saved, received Christ, went back to Ethiopia. This is true, and then Candace, his queen, also uh, got saved and received Christ, and Ethiopia became the first nation that professed to be Christian, and that was in the first century, long before Europeans got to Africa. So Africans had Christianity 1400 years before, you know, long time before the Europeans got there. And so, so those are fascinating stories
Mm-hmm.
about Africa. Another thing that's interesting in terms of faith in Africa is that there are more Christians in Africa than in the United States. And Africa is the fastest growing continent for Christianity. It also is the fastest growing continent for Islam.
Mm-hmm.
And so these two religions are very much struggling to win the hearts of the people there. But it was interesting when I remember a couple of things going to Africa. So I remember going to Africa, and we come into this village, and immediately people begin to sing and dance. I was like, what? I mean, just immediately upon seeing us. And they were singing and dancing, and then I thought, see, this is where we get it from. We get it honestly.
Yeah.
We get the singing and dance. They were singing and dancing. It's like it was second nature. It was second nature. And then we
It's
started singing
absolutely
and
true.
dancing with them.
Yep.
And I remember having a church underneath the trees. And also in buildings where there was just seats. And how joyful they were.
Mm-hmm.
And how full of the Spirit. And they had so little.
Mm-hmm.
They had so little. But they had the Spirit, and they had love, and they had joy. And it changed me. And it changed me. That's why I'm studying African studies. That's why I say I know that's part of my journey. Is Africa and understanding this whole thing in terms of faith. And so what I'm trying to do is really look at how do I express how do I look at include faith in this whole idea of Africa development. I'll be speaking at a conference coming up in 2 weeks, looking at the whole issue of whether religion is part of the reason for all the violence in Africa. And I'm going to be taking the position that what we call violent entrepreneurs, I think that's the word. That may not be the right word. Where people are really taking advantage of young people because they are young and because they are needy, and using them to do violent things. And it's not really religion. It's really people just using violent entrepreneurs, conflict entrepreneurs. I think that was the word. So anyway, that's my journey. It's sort of been all around the world, to Brazil,
Mm-hmm.
lived there for 2 years. That's where I learned to speak Portuguese. And I used to speak pretty good Swahili, but
Oh,
I not as much now. But so I can speak Spanish, Portuguese. I try to speak English. I don't know. Am I succeeding?
Well, here's the thing. So so Candy speak about 9 languages, and
I
then
do
then when I ask her like where that come from, she's like, okay, then she'll say something in French.
Yeah.
Like
So
I speak two languages, English and Southeast. But yes,
He says Southeast.
So I don't know.
Just,
So
or just,
that's my story.
that's a that I mean that's a powerful one.
It's fascinating.
And I was able to upload Children of the Day, so I did want to talk
Okay.
about that too.
Okay.
But
Okay.
again, we want to again, this is how I knew it would happen, far as the organic conversation, because Dr. Winstead is very interesting. I learned some stuff today that I didn't know.
Yes.
I guess I don't ask the right questions, so that's why you're the host of this entire situation.
That's what it is. You got to ask the right questions.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. No,
So we can take a listen to it, or it's one of those things. Candy, is there any other things that you would like to, any other questions you want to ask, or any other direction you wanted to go?
he actually answered, my questions. I wondered, what his message was, and we talked about that, and wondered what he had coming up, and he's got this speech coming up, which sounds like it's going to be really fascinating.
Absolutely.
So,
There's probably one other thing I want to share.
Absolutely.
As to why Africa and why faith. And I remember, I don't know how many years ago, I was really having this argument with God about why did he let Black people who are full of faith, and so many of my grandparents and our forefathers confessed Christianity, but they were put into slavery, they were taken advantage of, killed, murdered, the millions and thousands that were destroyed coming over for Africa. What was going on? Why did God let that happen? And I was like, I don't, can I love a God like that? Can I embrace a faith in a God that would do something like that? And it was interesting as I was sort of challenging God, right then he said, you don't know the story. And what he spoke to my heart is that he said, every baby, every woman, every man that was lost in that middle passage when they were thrown over, I was there. I watched it. I was there with them. Every one of them, every slave that was whipped and killed, I was there. And what I sensed was that he had a special calling for his African children. And I really sensed it in my spirit. And I was like, okay, there's something special God has for his African children. And I decided I want to be a part of that. So that's why I studied African studies. That's why I'm in Africa. That's the real story behind the story.
I've had that same question that you just expressed. So no offense, but I'd like a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
I really do, because it's just it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, it really is.
It's really mind-boggling.
Part of what I had to settle with is that first God said a couple of things. First, I'm God and you're not. You don't see the whole picture. I do. I have a plan. You don't. Your plan is limited. You see your little time. I see the whole picture. And I'm fair, and you're partially fair, and I'm going to work it out. So part of it has to deal with just now walking by faith. Do I believe that?
Yeah.
Do I believe that God really is God, that he sees the beginning from the end, that he knows what's going on, that what I see as being injustice, he's going to right, that it's not going to be righted by a political party. It's not going to be righted by us, killing our enemies. Do I believe that? And I've come to say, yeah, I believe that now. I believe that And I believe that he will right the wrongs, that he saw what's going on, the things that the abuse that we took, the abuse that others took, he's going to make it right.
Okay.
Yes, indeed. So we are coming to the end of the broadcast. Definitely, this has been just a lot of knowledge. Just again, I'm glad you're my friend because I'm gonna go
Hey,
talk to
me
you some
too.
more
Okay.
about some things. So we're going to end off with Children of the Day. If you can share a little bit about that. I think you kind of already started talking about what the Children of the Day is about, because we've talked about it, but you touched on it a little bit. So what we'll do, we'll have you talk a little bit about that, and then we'll end out with that song.
And before you start on that, Mr. Winstead, I do want to make a suggestion.
Go ahead.
So we had Jay Cameron on the show last year, and he it was a great show. Everything that he's doing, he's over in the continent now. He's still traveling. He's gone to like 6 or 7, maybe even more countries in Africa. And I think that for you two to talk and hook up, and you being the doctor of African studies and he being the African expert, like American traveler, and he was actually not ever going to travel there because he was advised not to do it. And he's so glad he didn't listen, and he actually confronted his fears, and he went over there and he's having a ball. So,
but it was coming up on his show anniversary, so we could probably be the next one after that.
Sure, I'd love to.
Yeah, so definitely connect with him.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so Children of the Day.
Yes,
Children of the Day.
And thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
It was wonderful having you. And it went by. Thank you so much.
So Children of the Day is another one of those, what's going on here? We've tried the roads high and low. Is there any hope? Only God would know. It's like, what's happening? It's the questions. So again, these songs are coming out of that transition. Why is the world the way it is? What's going on here? And then I found the answer, and that's what the song leads us to, the answer. And so you'll hear. I won't give you the answer. I'll let you listen to the answer. You'll hear in the beginning. That's what it is. We're children of the day. We're searching. Is there any help? My response is only God will know. So
thank
that's
you.
It.
Okay.
Well, we thank everyone for joining the show today. And again, my name is Kennard Cherry, co-host of the Poetry Podcast, and we have Candy B, who is the host and founder of the Poetry Podcast. So we look forward to y'all joining us on the next episode. But thank you again to Dr. Willer for being on the show today, and hope to see y'all soon.
Okay.
Until.
We the children of the day, hey, 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 hey. We're looking for a better way, hey, 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 hey. We have tried the roads both high and low, but they all seem to downward go. Is there any hope? Only God would know. Oh, ho. We the children of the day, hey, 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 hey. Longing for a better way, hey, 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 hey. Some say that there is no light. Well, we found it and it's hid in Christ. Follow him and to end of the day. Hey, 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 hey. Looking for a better way.